Well, dude, I appreciate you taking some time. This is going to be awesome. I've got some questions I want to ask you, and I actually just had Karch on yesterday, it's always interesting to talk to Karch and get his thoughts on some things, and just the way the world is nowadays and his view and everything. I actually Wikipedia'd you. I didn't know that you were born in Louisville, Kentucky. Is that true? That you were born in Kentucky?
Yeah, I was there. I think less than 2 years. To be honest, I don't know how that worked because my dad was a military guy, and I don't know what bases out there or why we were there. But as far as military children go, I was very lucky in that, like I said, before my second birthday, I think we had moved out to California. We actually moved to Orange County first, and Stu was born here in Orange County. And then we moved to San Diego, and I lived most of my childhood there. And then at 16 years old, we moved back up to Orange County, and I've been here ever since.
Okay. I didn't know.
But yeah,
that,
I mean, I don't really claim Kentucky or anything because I have zero recollection of it. I was so young when we left, but that is where I was born, as was my sister. That's just younger than me.
Oh, okay. How did you, I don't think I knew this. I might have heard this from you at some point, but how did you start in volley? When did that start for you?
It started in high school. Again, it ties in a little bit to that military background, in that I played, Little League baseball my whole childhood, right? Kind of aspired to be a baseball player, as a lot of, excuse me, as a lot of us do here in the States, right? But I played, this is kind of how I view things. I mean, this may be accurate or it may be completely a figment of my imagination, but how when you're sort of progressing in school, you go from elementary school to middle school to high school, and if you stay in the same area, the middle school teachers sort of know the good students that are coming in and also the bad students. So you sort of have a reputation that precedes you one way or the other. And I think the same is true of sports, especially if there's a Little League setup, right? And so what happened was I played Little League in this one section of San Diego, and I was, an all-star and so forth. But the military housing we lived in was getting renovated. And so we moved, it was only 10 minutes away, which allowed me to still play Little League at the same spot, but it was a different, school district or whatever. It was certainly a different high school. Yeah. And so the high school coach had sort of no idea who I was as a baseball player. And so around that sort of middle school time, I'd start, my best friend at the time, his older brother played volleyball at the high school. We would go to the church buildings and play for fun every now and then. And I sort of got into it. You're all wrapped up in hanging out with your buddies when you're 14 years old or whatever, right? And so because of that, I got a little bit of the dust off from the high school baseball coach. I was I kind of thought hey, I was somebody who deserved a little bit of special attention, so to speak. And he's like, tryouts are Wednesday, guy, or whatever. And conversely, the high school volleyball coach was this little old lady who was kind of old school. My buddy was 5'8" or something, 5'9", but probably a better volleyball player than I was at the time. But I was 6'1" as a freshman. Yeah. And so she was like, tall equals good. And so she gave me some special attention, right? And it sort of facilitated that shift, since I had to choose one or the other because baseball and volleyball are the same season out here, as you know, right? Yeah. And so, that's sort of how it happened. And it was interesting, without getting into some big sob story, it was weird because my dad was super involved in my whole Little League career, or whatever you want to call it, growing up. And then as soon as I switched to volleyball, he was like, oh, I'm busy, never around, not interested in that, and actually kind of pissed, I suppose, that he had spent so much time with the baseball stuff, and then I just walked away from it.
Yeah.
To the point that like after my freshman year, even though, like I played JV and I got to suit up for like some playoff games with the varsity team because I was, like not good, but I was coordinated, I guess. Yeah,
That helps.
I didn't fall down as much as some other people, I guess. But I actually thought about trying to go back to baseball because I was like, this is so weird that like my dad's like pissed. And again, I sort of, but now the coach really liked me, the volleyball coach, and the baseball coach had even less of an idea who I was. And so I ended up sticking with volleyball. And my sophomore year is sort of where I started to get decent. Yeah. And then it just kind of went from there,
You still like baseball? You still follow like MLB or?
Yeah, baseball is an interesting one because I kind of think it's similar to hockey in that, like maybe that's a bad comparison since I know nothing about hockey at all.
Yeah.
But I just mean that. But going to a live baseball game, going to a live hockey game is such a different experience than watching it on TV. Like one's pretty boring, but like going to a baseball game is awesome, I think. Yeah. It's just such an experience. I mean, like the ballpark is beautiful. Like, I don't know, just something about it's just ingrained in us, right, as Americans, that like the popcorn and the Cracker Jacks and, just all the stuff, people walking around, get that Cracker Jacks. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, you're right. I rarely watch baseball on TV unless it's the playoffs. The playoffs is something different just because the energy you can feel. The regular season's rough to watch on TV, but you're right, though. Going to a ballpark is just different. There's, it's beautiful. You're right. The stadiums are nice. There's structure. You get the guy raking the dirt. And it's just, you're right. It's cool.
Yeah.
Huh. I'm going to skip over all the BYU stuff because we all know. You and I both know what happened there. So we just dominated everybody. So we don't need to relive us dominating everyone else. So I want to get to you and your overseas career. So you played the first year you played in Vienna, right?
Mm-hmm. First 2 years, yeah.
First 2 years. And then from there, did you go to Poland from there?
No, I went to Holland from there, and then I went to Belgium. I went to Mosaic, then I went to Poland. Yeah,
and you played a year in Russia too. Give me any stories that stick out to you during your time. People always ask me, like, what was like your favorite place to play overseas? What was your least favorite place to play? How would you answer that just based on your experience over there in those years that you played?
Well, I mean, my favorite place to play was my first 2 years in Poland in Olsztyn for a lot of reasons. I mean, you know how Poland is with volleyball.
Oh, man.
Their fans are enthusiastic and they come out in droves. But then I also had just like a cool group of guys. The other foreign guy on my team those 2 years was this guy named Sinan Tanik, who's a Turkish guy. He was an outside hitter.
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah. You know what he's doing now? Well, he was Patchell's assistant coach this season at Concordia.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Huh. He's been trying to get here for a while because I mean he's a super bright guy. I mean, probably speaks better English than you or I. I mean, he's just an amazing dude. But it's like it's always difficult with like the different educational systems in all the different countries around the world to sort of like break into our system over here, right? No matter how educated you are in your country, which he's certainly very educated. So it's weird. I actually haven't talked to him in a little bit. I should probably check in with him and see what this whole situation we're all in means for him. Because with the season shut down and like, I don't know if he is getting paid by the university still or, because he was also going to school trying to get like an MBA or some sort of like graduate degree. And so I imagine that continues, but sort of in an online form, like everybody who is in school.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, sorry, I got off on a tangent there. Like just playing with guys like that. Guma, you remember him? Pavel Zagumny was my setter there both years. I played with Pavel Popke, if you remember him.
Oh, yeah, I remember Popke.
Yeah, so I just had a great group of guys. Gibb was one of our
Wojtek
middles. Wojtek, and also Moždonek, if you remember him,
Moždonek,
big 7-footer,
the big tall guy, yeah.
You know who else was on my team there that is such an interesting example to me of how things work sometimes is Michal Kubiak, who's now the captain. He was an 18-year-old kid. I didn't have a car my first year there, so he would pick me up every day. We would roll to practice, like go see movies and stuff together, like just an awesome, awesome kid. And I remember him telling me at the time, like, I got my knee's a little banged up. I'm not that big. So like, I just don't think they're ever going to give me a look on the national team. And he was pretty much ready to freaking like never try and be on the national team. And now he's like the heartbeat of that team.
Yeah.
Like without him, he's their captain, obviously, but without him, like they're a completely different squad, right? He's just like this lion-hearted kid that is a stud. And as an 18-year-old, he was like, I just don't know if it's ever going to happen. And it's like, I mean, you can attest to this, I'm sure, talking to all your international friends, that sometimes these other countries like pigeonhole guys early on.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to decide what a guy's going to be at 18?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I was a red shirt and still had like 2 years on a mission before I even started to be a hack at BYU when I was 21, for Christ's sakes. Not to mention like thinking about national team stuff.
Seriously.
It's crazy.
It's so true. Man, I didn't know that you played with him when he was a young guy too. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, he was, and he was awesome too.
Really?
Bomb serves.
Yeah, he's got a good whip.
Great arm, and like we would play, that short court game that Riley and I would play every day.
Oh yeah,
he was awesome because he and Bartman were like European silver medalists on the beach together in like the junior world championships or something. So he has some game, obviously, as he's shown in subsequent years. Did
you smoke him in short court though, like Riley?
Well, yeah, I appreciate you characterizing it that way. What happens is I do the thing where like I know that I've got 5 years of playing every day with Riley under my belt, so I'll invite new people in. Like I do it with Taylor Crabb now on the beach. Yeah. And so I smoke you early, and then you figure out how to play, and then I have trouble keeping up after that.
Oh man, how about Belgrade? How was that? I got my own Russia horror stories, but I'm curious if you've got any too.
Yeah, so that was my worst place I ever played, which is a bummer because I played with some awesome guys. Komutsky was our setter.
Oh, cool.
Tsukin was on that team.
Wow.
Baranov was our opposite.
Baranov,
and Kosarev was our other outside. So
oh wow, that's a good team.
He and Taras Kate.
Wow, jeez, you guys are stacked.
Yeah. So we had a good team, but I went there in the middle of the season. Like they had this Brazilian kid named Alan, I think, that had gotten hurt or something. So I went there in December.
Yeah.
It was weird. Like, just kind of side note, that was right after the Beijing Olympics, and so Russia had won the bronze, right?
Right.
And for winning the bronze. 3 or 4 of the guys on my team had those in the parking lot that they rarely even used because those same guys were making a bunch of money and had like better cars. So those were like gifts to their wives or whatever. Like they rarely even used them.
And then they asked you how much you got for winning gold, and you told them, and they're like, "What?"
Yeah, right.
And so you got to pay taxes on it too.
That was the. Yeah, exactly. That was the worst place to play, just because, like I said, I went there mid-season, so my total contract because we won the CV Cup
Oh,
Like we
yeah.
weren't in Champions League, but we won the whatever competition we were in. The CV, yeah. And so like I only had like a $10,000 bonus in my contract for that, which is BS. But anyways, my contract with that bonus was 70,000 total. They paid me like 36 of that.
Oh, you didn't even get it all?
And like never reimbursed me for my $9,000 flight to Russia. So yeah, they still owe me like $43,000, which is awesome. See that Russia was, but super cool guys.
Yeah.
But like they don't. Baranov spoke English, so he was kind of my go-between. But like Tachukin doesn't speak very much. Kosarev spoke a little bit. Kate spoke none at all. Khmutsky, I think, I don't know, even I'm not sure he was ever sober. Still awesome, but like I don't know how that guy only weighed like 170 pounds, because he must have taken in like freaking 8,000 calories of vodka on a daily basis. But yeah, anyways, their culture is just kind of cold from our perspective, right? It's normal for them, but like we would consider it cold because like I was literally there at least a month, and I'm walking in the stairwell of my apartment building and I see Tachukin there, and I was like, oh, maybe he's just visiting. Turns out he lives in the same apartment building I lived in, but I was like walking to practice every day, stuff in the snow. It's like December, January in Belgorod, Russia. And like the guy never thought like, oh, hey, this foreign guy probably, I could show him the ropes a little bit, and it wasn't like a mean thing, because he was super nice all the time, super great guy. But it was just like, I kind of keep to myself. That's what I do as a Russian guy, right?
Yeah. No, I can
so yeah, that was.
Can totally relate, man. That was kind of similar experience that I had there too. I mean, I had a different type of situation, but good dudes on our team. The volleyball was really good, and we were in Champions League too. So we made it. We made it pretty. We had a really good team too. We had Butko was setting, who's their national team setter now. Who he and I just clicked right off the bat. It was really nice. We had a Cuban opposite who was dual citizenship. His mom's Russian, his dad was Cuban. He just touched. I mean, he'd go up and touch the top of the Vertec without even warming up. Just
we call that the communist dream team.
Seriously. And we had who's the Burikov was up one of our outsides. The other outside was a Slovakian guy who was really good. And our other middle was their national team middle now, big, tall, 7-footer guy. So we had a really good team. We were stacked too, but it was just rough, man. Plus, I was in Siberia, which made it even worse. It was just our closest match was like a 4-hour flight.
Right.
But man,
yeah,
it was crazy.
It's interesting. I like you probably had moments like this too. So we had, like a team plane, which sounds a lot cooler than it actually is. But we're all packed in there, and Russian winters, I'm sure, was probably worse in Siberia. But be like, we're going to have to land somewhere else because the weather conditions are too tough to land in Belgorod. And then like I would be asleep, and then we hit the ground, and it's we're in Belgorod, because the pilot was just like, screw it,
yeah
give it a shot.
Oh my god, I know exactly what you're talking about. And literally every time we would go back into Novosibirsk, it'd be like -50 outside, and I'm thinking, this can't be safe for an airplane to land, and the airport's garbage. So they don't have like security things. And so I'm like, I mean, the runway for sure has ice on it. We're coming in at 300 miles an hour. I mean, I was literally in my seat every time, and I was white knuckling it, and there's no rules either. So the guys were in the back standing up, smoking, like hanging out with the flight attendants, you know what I mean, trying to pick them up. And I'm literally like praying that we don't crash. And they're not even in their seats with their seatbelts on. And I was just, they're like, you know, it's normal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's Russia. It was gnarly.
Yeah, Russia. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing the stuff that goes on sometimes, and like sort of the stuff you live through.
Oh, I know, man. We could do a whole nother show just telling Russia stories.
Yeah, boy.
So
I just liked the grocery. There was a grocery store right next to our gym. Well, first of all, I thought it was cool. One really cool thing is out front of our gym. You probably saw this if you went to Belgrade. There's a statue of Khmutsky and Titukin.
Titukin, yeah.
Like Khmutsky's setting Titukin, and then Shapulin, the freaking mob boss that runs that place, is like sitting on the bench, like he's the third person in the statue, dude. It's hilarious.
That's
Like
awesome.
he's like, how can I commission a statue of myself? I'll just put these other two guys in there, but it'll mostly be.
People get the picture. It's more about me, but they can have a little piece of it as well. That's funny, man.
I guess there's a little draw, you know, for Tsuzuki, but we had a grocery store next to the gym, and it was just like hit or miss whether stuff got put back on the shelves or not. Like I found, you know, I mean, eating was because I'm kind of a picky eater. I found this like flavor of Pringles I liked, and I bought it like the first 2 weeks I was there, and then I never saw it again. I was like, oh, that's cool. We're not gonna restock that one. Right on.
That flavor is out of season. We no longer have that in season.
Yeah.
So NBC Sports just aired the replay of our 2008 gold medal match. What were you thinking when you watched that?
Well, that's the first time I'd watched it since 2008.
Oh, really?
You know, I don't know if you'd ever watched it in its entirety.
No,
yeah,
I hadn't in its entirety.
I don't know why that is. Yeah. It was really cool to hear Paul and Kevin on the call. You know, I thought they do a great job, obviously. You know, I've seen plenty of highlight clips, and obviously like the final play where you just dish out the sauce to Clay. And
you were ready to back me up too. I could see you. I kind of gave you like I was like, get out of here, I'm good. You're right behind me like, all right, you take it then.
Yeah. It was like you were driving and you sort of like left your window down, and there was like gnats sort of coming near you, and you just had to like,
get out of there.
I got this, bro. Like, get away from me. Get away from me.
Oh man, that's funny.
No, that was great though. That was really great to watch. I mean, it was obviously very nostalgic, and I don't know. It's so interesting. I don't know if you're like a super memory guy. Like all this stuff, I don't focus enough on it to have these like clear-cut memories of things. You know what I mean? I wish I was better at that kind of stuff, but even like you sort of forget the tragedy that kicked that whole Olympics off with Wiz's parents, and you know, Hugh being away with that, because like they show him obviously, and he goes into the tunnel to have sort of a moment to himself, a very emotional moment, and understandably so. And it's just I don't know, it was fun to see. I've talked a lot about that team just in various situations and conversations, obviously in the last 12 years that it's been, kind of about the concept of revisionist history.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know what your take on all that is, but especially if you end up being successful, you know, winning a gold medal, let's say, like we were able to do with that team, people tend to think, and I think sometimes if you don't sort of remind yourself of the path that you were on and the ups and downs that it took to get to that point, you tend to gloss over some of the difficulties that you faced. And I mean, first of all, we won 15-12 in the fifth, 15-13 in the fifth, in the quarterfinals and the semifinals. So it's not like we steamrolled the entire Olympic field on this march to gold, right? I mean, we were 2 real points and 1 real point away from not medaling at all. And if
we
you
were
go
down, we were
back
down 2-1 against Serbia in the quarters. We were down 2-1.
and
We had to
down
come back.
7-3 in the fifth, if you
Yeah.
remember that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
there was a tough road. It was not an easy road.
Shoot, it froze up on me
No,
for a
you're
second
good.
there.
I was just saying it was not an
okay.
easy road for us. Because I remember even when we were like, yeah, we got Serbia on the crossover, I'm like, oh, geez. Because we had just played Serbia in the World League finals. So, I mean, that's not a slouch team. That's like a really good team. And we're like, okay, we win our pool. Now we got to cross over against these guys.
Yeah, and let's back up just a couple days. I mean, we managed to beat Serbia in the World League finals, and I think we would both agree that winning that tournament was pivotal to our success in the Olympics, right? Just kind of giving us that belief that we could win a world tournament like that.
Yeah.
But we back up a couple days to when Serbia D-whipped us. I don't know what your audience is, so I'll just say D-whipped us 3-0. And we were, I mean, in our opening match of that World League, and we're having team meetings like, what the heck is going on here? This was not us. We played team volleyball, and that was, I don't know, something weird, and we need to stop it. So the very next day, right, is us against Poland. And Poland has a swing to win that match that they bomb off of, I think, Steam's head 50 feet in the air. And we managed to turn that. And I mean, we're talking that's centimeters away from being a kill for them and putting us out of the tournament in fifth place. Yep. And then, maybe the Olympics go a whole different way because we don't believe we can win.
Yep.
As it was, we convert that, managed to win. Poland loses. We beat Brazil in the semis. Suck it, Brazil. And
and then we play a lot better against Serbia.
Yeah. We kind of got on track, but I mean, like those little things sort of get glossed over and forgotten because you go, they play this team brand of volleyball. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and blah blah blah, and all this great stuff, which isn't false, but you have to remember some of the fortuitous things that happen. But also, I go back even further when I talk to people about it, and I'm like, look, Hugh deserves an immense amount of credit. Not that people don't give him credit, but like the fact that we were sitting in a conference room in 2005 in Anaheim making a team mission statement, and he insists, rightly so, that the first sentence should be, "We will win a gold medal in 2008 in the Beijing Olympics." And at that point in time, that was a comical notion, especially like not only for us as a USA volleyball team that hadn't really done much on the world stage of significance in the last however long, but with that particular group, because the team that we had in 08 wasn't fully formed yet. But then, 05, we have a decent summer. We actually beat Brazil in that America's Cup.
Yep.
That was a fully formed team that had just won the gold medal the year before. So things are looking decent. But 06, we had that stupid team meeting before the World Championships where we're talking about how we want to chop up prize money. It was just this like fractured kind of like weird vibe we had, right? And we have a bad World Championships. Reed and, like some other people are kind of not that happy with Hugh at the time. And what is this guy? I mean, it's year 2 of Hugh's first head coaching assignment, and it's the national team. And so people are questioning his credentials, and does this guy know what he's doing? And he stayed the course, right? He knew what he was doing. I mean, you and I obviously had a different perspective on him because we'd been around him since BYU and like know what a study is. But like, if you've known Hugh for 2 years or even 3 or 4 because he was Doug's assistant, like, and the wheels seem to be falling off at the 2006 World Championships. You're like, dude, we got to get this guy out of here. He's freaking. First of all, he's 3 years older than the rest of us, or whatever. So
that's true.
Like, what does he know? And so his ability to know that he knew what he was doing, I don't think is talked about enough, because then by 07, we end up getting a bronze in the World League, which is the first medal we'd had there in a while. And we didn't even have Loy yet.
Yeah.
We had freaking Kevin Hansen, who was playing great, and
Yeah.
the big Goose just diving all over creation, killing balls.
That was in Poland, right?
That was in Poland,
yeah.
against Poland in the bronze
Poland,
medal
yeah.
match,
That's right.
with all the red and white
Packed
balloons in the
house.
ceiling.
Oh man, that place was so packed.
So packed, so loud, so hot.
Yeah,
And they had all
really
the
hot
balloons in the
too.
ceiling, remember?
Yeah, that's right.
They were ready to drop them when they won, and then they
Yeah.
didn't get to drop them. It was awesome. But yeah, and then obviously, like, later in the year, Lloyd came back, and we had that hiccup against Puerto Rico, which maybe cost us qualifying at World Cup.
Okay. Yeah.
But things just, then we don't lose a set in the Norseca to qualify, and we sort of got rolling a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, things could have derailed even further from 06 if Hugh wasn't such a pillar and such a stalwart in what he knew and what he believed and what he was able to instill in us, right?
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, I'm hopefully going to get him on the show next week, and we'll talk a lot about that. I want to pick his brain a little bit more, but talk to me about your experience in London then in 2012. As we move on, Hugh's gone. He goes over to the women's side. Alan takes over. There was all that stuff that went on. How close was 2012 from being special too?
Yeah, that was an interesting one. It's probably a long conversation on a lot of levels. I mean, I know you have your own
I've got some
experience
things
with
to
that.
say.
Yeah, well, but I mean, like, that experience right there, I think was very indicative of that whole quad.
Yeah.
I mean, not to pick at old wounds, but right, you were sort of not given the respect of full transparency with whatever they were thinking about your situation, and so you were sort of unceremoniously cut, or whatever, however you would characterize it, right? Left off the Olympic team is what
Right.
the end result was, right? And so that was, to me, sort of a microcosm of how that quad went, unfortunately. And there's a lot of reasons for it, and I don't, with a little bit, I don't know, of time and distance and ability to reflect, I don't really blame anybody necessarily, because I mean, obviously we all sort of were like Alan this and Alan that, Alan Knipe, our head coach, right? But he was in a next to impossible situation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, one of the examples I give people is, if you remember 2009, Serbia was the host of the World League Finals.
Mm-hmm.
So we make the World League Finals. We're getting ready to play Serbia in Serbia, and we're having the team video meeting, and Alan and Gary are telling us about this left-handed opposite that they got, Stankovic, or whatever his name was, and he's going to do this and he's going to do that, and we're all sitting of Ivan Milkovic, like one of the greatest players of all time. Like, that's who's going to be playing opposite for them. So we don't need to waste a bunch of time on this guy who's not going to see. And they just simply didn't know, because since Serbia was the host, they played all their B team throughout, right? And so that's sort of been on, even as like team manager or whatever those other positions are, where people are helping out in the gym all the time.
Yeah.
Like, neither of those guys had been around at any point. And so they didn't know the international landscape very well. They're coming into a situation where they don't have any experience, and we've just won the Olympic gold.
Right. Yeah.
And like, almost all of those guys are back, right?
Right.
And so then you get into, like, we obviously had some friction between sort of yours and my group of guys. That was Riley and Reed and Clay, and like the older dudes, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then like the younger guys that were coming in, right? And I think part of that was that because because of that unusual situation Alan was in, as far as being like less experienced than the players as the head coach, he was uncomfortable, whether it was chastising us or, I don't know, saying anything to us. And so, like, if you make a mistake, let's say, and I don't say anything to you, and then, I don't know, Russ Holmes, let's say, makes the same mistake the next play, and I bury him double because I have sort of this pent-up need to say something that I passed on with you.
Right.
Like that accomplishes a couple of bad things. Russ takes double burial, which isn't good. But now there's some resentment towards you because he's going, hey, Ryan just did the same thing and nobody said anything. And that's not your fault. And it's kind of like, it's not Alan's fault so much because it's just this weird situation. But I feel like, yeah, things just sort of spiraled in a bad way for us because of some of those circumstances that were sort of out of everyone's control. And then with the lack of communication and lack of transparency that ultimately affected you quite adversely. And then me later on down the line with Spera, you know, it just, we were sort of, the way I think about it is like that 08 squad, we were steady. Like we weren't always like playing at the highest level in the world, but there were very seldom these dips that were precipitous, right? Our 2012 team was maybe more talented because we had Matt Anderson out there along with Steam and along with all these, you know, a lot of the same players that we had in 08.
Yeah. Dave was just a beast, and Russ was a beast. He was good, and you know, you guys, we had new, fresh blood, which was great. But I think you're right, though. It felt like this the whole quad almost.
Yeah, because we won our group. We lost to Russia, but that didn't matter. We had beaten Brazil, and we won our group. But then the other group had kind of screwed around a little bit, and so Italy came out fourth instead of Argentina, which was just a bad matchup for us. And we had a little bit of a dip. I know personally I didn't play very well at all in that quarterfinal round in London. And it was just like, it was a bad time for a dip, but we hadn't, you know, established this consistency as a group. And so there was always this, I don't know, for me, there was always like, I hate the word anxiety because we use it too much nowadays to describe anything that's uncomfortable. But like, you know, we would, with our 08 group, for example, we would go out on the floor, I feel like, and there were only a handful of teams that we were sort of nervous about, you know, like your Brazils and your Russias and your Italys and so forth. You're like, this is going to be a gnarly game. We got to bring it or whatever. And it's like, it's not bad nerves. It's just like, you know, it's going to be gnarly. But like the teams below a certain line, you're like, our normal game is plenty to beat this team.
Yeah.
And with our 2012 team, there was just a twinge of anxiety. Like, I hope we don't have one of these dips where we freaking can't put one foot in front of the other and Tunisia beats us or, you know, whatever, or whoever it is. Right.
Yeah.
Like these teams that are kind of like pretty good, or Egypt, you know, who can like bring it from the service line or something.
Right.
And maybe catch you if you're not playing your game. And so like, that's kind of how I felt about that squad. Super talented, but we hadn't established that consistency just because we hadn't trained it into ourselves, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Well said. I was curious at your perspective on that. So,
yeah. And I think, you know, I mean, obviously I am in massive disagreement with the way you were treated. Unfortunately, USA Volleyball has a long history of disrespecting its athletes, and it's so kind of hit or miss. You know, some people get the congratulatory send off, like freaking red note hanging in their locker, a la Major League. You know,
great movie, by the way.
Yeah, great movie. Not the send off you want though.
You know, I was just listening to a podcast with Rob Lowe. He was on a podcast. It's done by Dak Shepard. I don't know if you're a podcast guy, but he's got a really good podcast called Armchair Expert.
Yeah.
And he had Rob Lowe on there. And Rob Lowe went to school with Charlie Sheen. And Martin, he actually lived when they were in high school. Before they were anybody. And I guess Charlie Sheen was a pretty big scout. Like, he was scouted. He could, in early high school, he was throwing mid-80s. So he was on his way to doing something with baseball. And so then that got me thinking about Major League. And I was like, oh, yeah, that kind of makes sense now. Rick Vaughn.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I remember hearing that, like, surrounding that movie, that he was actually a decent player. And it shows when they're showing him throw a ball versus if you ever watched Eastbound and Down and you watched Danny McBride, and it's like, it looks like he's doing a parody of a girl throwing. I mean, it's ridiculous, that guy. And then they're showing the radar gun and it says 101 and you're like, what?
Yeah. That's impossible. It's physically impossible.
It's physically
10.1. Oh man. What have you enjoyed most working with Jake and Taylor?
Yeah, well, that's just an absolute delight. People talk about, or people ask me, I guess I should say, like, oh, do you like coaching? Do you enjoy coaching? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I always give a conditional answer, because I've had some situations that I've enjoyed. I've had some situations that I haven't enjoyed at all, where it's just like, if you can make it a grind to go to the beach every day, like, that's not a situation you're enjoying.
Something's wrong.
Yeah. So Jake and Taylor are awesome, and I couldn't be more excited to be involved with those guys for a lot of reasons, but excuse me. Jake is such a unique guy in the world of, I mean, in general, I suppose, but especially in the world of beach volleyball, because the way he approaches things, I think, is so meticulous and so professional and so well thought out. And unfortunately, that's not the norm. Like, the beach world is so different from what you and I played and up in, because it's autonomous for the most part, right? Like, USA Volleyball's more involved now, but for the majority of Jake's career, he's been his own boss and he's had to organize everything. And so you really have to take charge for yourself, right? Yeah. And so where he's been extremely proficient, I think, is in thinking about what he's looking for in a coach, what kind of vibe he wants with not only his partner, but his coach and, that team, but also, like, doing that thinking and doing that work on the front end and then committing to it, like doing his homework up front and then committing to it, because he knows he's put some thought and some effort into that decision, if that makes sense. I think because there are sort of so few coaches in the beach world still, since it's like a newer part of the sport, there's not a ton of options necessarily. Let's say, like, if you were to start playing beach and you're like, I need a beach coach, I mean, who are you going to go get? There's like a handful of people probably, unless you get one of your buddies, and then what are you really getting out of that person? Right. And so that's the thing that I really appreciate about Jake. And I think it's one of the major reasons why you've seen him have so few partners over the entirety of his career. He's had these long partnerships where there's a lot of volatility in other people's careers. He's had so few coaches, I think, because he commits to that and he understands the concept of not only team, but also sort of long-term, because there's also that other aspect in beach volleyball a lot, I think, where, we have one or two bad tournaments, let's scrap it and try something different, rather than going like, hey, as a team, let's figure out what's happening here and see if we can fix it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Which is unfortunately, that's a very advanced concept. It's not the norm in my experience in the beach world. And part of that goes to, I don't know, I'll just hypothetically pose this question to you. And in no way am I saying I know a good answer to this, but I feel like most athletes haven't given much thought to this question right here. What are you looking for in a coach?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like what would you say to that if I asked you that, right? Like, let's say you're a beach player.
Yeah.
What are you looking for? Like, what are 3 attributes you're looking for in a coach?
I think I would want somebody to provide me and my partner with a high functioning structure, some type of plan, some type of strategy that gives us some type of competitive advantage. Because that's, in essence,
Okay.
it would be the reasons why you would bring a coach in, right? Is you want to have them bring value that creates a competitive advantage. Otherwise, there's no reason having a coach, right? And so I think structure, some discipline would be really helpful. I think the ability to have somebody to hold your feet to the fire a little bit, because you know how it is when you're on your own, even when you're in a partnership, you can get a little lackadaisical. You can maybe not take things as seriously as maybe you should, especially if you're someone at Jake and Taylor's level where they're trying to win an Olympic gold medal. They're trying to win tournaments. And that requires potentially a next level sense of discipline in regards to what they're doing every day, how they approach the practice, how they approach their nutrition, whatever it ends up being for them. Yeah. And again, the bucket is, how do we create ongoing competitive advantage? How do we create the ability for us to go up another notch when maybe the other teams aren't? I would be looking for somebody that could provide us with some direction on how to do that. And then, I think tactically it would be really helpful to have someone on the sideline to see things, because you know how it is. Like when you're in a match, you're in match mode. You're not seeing the little things often that could be really helpful to dissect later on. And I think having a coach that has a really good volley mind or volley eye to see things in either the people that you're playing or even things that you're doing as a team that you don't necessarily see yourselves, and be able to make adjustments and changes, I think would also be super helpful. I think those 3 things would be pretty massive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, that's a fantastic answer. But then again, I would refer you to one of my earlier statements that like how many people that meet that criteria do you think are out there in the beach volleyball coaching landscape?
Good.
At this
I wouldn't even know where to look, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe like someone like Todd Rogers, someone that's been around the block for a while, that knows the game really well. People like yourself that grew up on the beach, but also have a different way of looking at things. It's no wonder why you kind of chose this path. But you're right, though. I can't think of very many at all.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like I think sort of your vibe in work, since you're just kind of this 3-headed monster, it's not like an indoor team that, like that you and I came from, that in the USA gym, for example, there's 20, 25 guys in there. Right. And so your job as a coach is to kind of establish this overall culture, and then everyone has to sort of fall in line. But when there's 2 players and 1 coach, it has to be a little bit more of this collaborative thing. I can't go as the coach, hey, this is our culture, and these 2 guys have to fall in line, because there's no subs or whatever. So like you really are, like, I view my role as a coach a lot differently than if I were working with an indoor team, just in that, especially since, again, like my background was indoor. You and I have played plenty of sand volleyball or beach volleyball or whatever growing up, but not at the professional level. So when you're talking about all that tactical stuff, it's more of a conversation with me and Jake and Taylor, and I let them lead it, because Jake's obviously got tons of experience. Taylor's been playing since he could stand upright, I feel like, and his volley IQ and so forth is just unbelievable. And so I want to defer to them as far as how they want to attack teams, and then I almost look at my job with them as reminding us, if we get off track, that this is what we're trying to do. Or one of the concepts we have in beach that's a little bit different than the indoor game is, since there's so much variety in it, like indoor, we can go, hey, in transition, we close line all the time, no matter what.
Right.
And that means line is closed. But in the beach, Like you can just roll it right over the guy.
Right.
Right? So
I would
so
hope that the team that I was playing against would consistently close my line just every
right.
time. It doesn't matter what I do. It's just line's gone. Okay, I'll just bomb cross court then.
Default transition. Go ahead and close that line.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so we sort of build that into like scouting reports. Hey, here's how we want to start against a team, but we have to sort of be doing these constant reassessments. Is this working? If not, what shift do we have to make? And on the world tour, I'm not even allowed to converse with them at all. I have to sit over there like I bought a ticket to watch this game.
It's like tennis,
You know
right?
what I mean?
Same thing with tennis, right? Yeah.
Same thing with tennis. And so that's why we prefer that sort of player-driven conversation as far as tactics, because they're the ones that have to go out there and enact it.
Yeah.
And, I can't, like on the AVP, we can have a timeout and I can go, hey, are we, go down this checklist. Are we doing this? Are we doing this? How's that working? Do we need to change? Blah, 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 whatever it is. But they have to really be proactive and autonomous on the world tour and do all that kind of stuff themselves. So in our estimation, it's better to train it that way into them and let them lead those conversations rather than rely on some outside source, because most of the time they're not going to have that.
Yeah. It's interesting. I bet it keeps you on your toes.
Yeah. It keeps me on my toes. And I mean, like you're right that an outside perspective is valuable.
Yeah.
Because, you get in the game and sometimes you're just not seeing clearly because you're looking at something else or the ball's coming at your face 100 miles an hour or whatever.
Right.
So those things are good, but I view that more as a backup in case people, like Taylor or Jake has a question, than sort of the definitive thing that I think we should do. You know what I mean? I pose it more as a question. Hey, what do we think about this?
Yeah.
And they go, okay, that makes sense. Or, hey, I'm seeing it differently. And then we go, all right, let's do that. But ultimately, I think our goal as a 3-person unit is to just converse and decide on an answer, no matter who came up with it, and then commit to it as a group and go out and enact it.
That's cool. I like that. I want to switch gears and do some fun stuff. Is that all right?
Sure.
And tap into the inner Rich here. So I always listen. I'm a big podcast guy, and so I've been listening. I listen to questions that some of the good podcast people they ask, and so I think it might be kind of interesting to ask some people these questions. So what's the trait you most dislike about yourself?
The trait that I most dislike about myself?
Yeah.
Man, where do I start? Yeah. What's this podcast called? Self-Loathing with Ryan Malone? Yeah, I don't know. I would, I'm having a hard time figuring out how to verbalize it, because I'm like sort of hyper judgmental. You know what I mean? And so, like I don't
Did
like
you hear
that.
how they answered that? Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about, Rich.
No, you don't say. Yeah, like I know that, and I still have a great deal of difficulty stopping myself from doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a part of who you are. It's just what makes you who you are, right?
But I also have the ridiculous side of that, which is like, I don't understand why no one wants to talk to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What am I, judgmental all the time? What's the deal?
What do people think I'm judgmental? All right, so I'll let you off the hook, and I'll give you the flip side. What's the trait you most dislike in others?
Ooh, dislike in others?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know that I can think of one off the top of my head. It's just sort of like stuff strikes me when I see it. Let me compliment you on how this podcast has gone so far, because the ability to like listen to like your guest or just another person in a conversation is huge. I think, so many people, especially in this day and age where I can just go buy a microphone and call myself a podcaster, like think that they're interesting. First of all, think that they know how to broadcast, which I think very few of us do. Like, you're doing your homework by listening to other good podcasts. Like, I was a big Stern listener for a long time, and I listen to podcasts too. And like, people who talk about sort of the skill of broadcasting know that allowing the other person to talk and actually listening to what they're saying rather than waiting for them to stop so you can jump in with your idea is a huge thing. So, I mean, you're doing phenomenally at that, in my opinion. And that's something I really appreciate in other people, especially when conversing with them. And it's not something that a lot of people do very well. And that bugs me if you ask me a question and then I'm like trying to give you an answer and you're like, you ever talk to those people that, I don't know, it seems like they're playing some game of verbal Mad Libs where they're like trying to finish your sentence before you get there.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going, am I speaking too slowly for you? Or do you want to guess what the answer is? Like, what's going on? Why did you ask me a question if you're just going to like guess? So that's an annoyance that I have in other people.
That's good. That's a good answer, actually. All right. Dream vacation. Where are you going?
Dream vacation. Man, I've been pretty lucky to be to some amazing places. Hawaii is always a good one, right?
Oh, yeah. That's where I got married.
Yeah. Oh, yeah? Which island?
It was awesome. Just the North Shore of Oahu. It was awesome, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I would maybe think of like Fiji or like the Maldives, or one of those places where you could be on one of those things that's like over the water.
You hit mine's Bora Bora. I've always wanted to go to Bora Bora, and it's the same thing. I want one of those huts over the water. I want no one to be around. If I want to go nudo, I just jump right in the ocean and just go swim around with some turtles, and that would be sweet.
Go, you probably didn't go on the trip to Barbados in 2001. Norseca.
No, I missed that one.
Oh my gosh. I'm sure you've heard us tell this story though. Just you saying nudo in the water made me think of it when we all go snorkeling and Riley Salmon pops up out of the water and goes, "Oh my gosh, guys, sea snake." And we all like look under the water and he's got his freaking shorts around his ankles.
That sounds exactly like something Riley would do.
Exactly something he would do. And like maybe the only guy that could do that. And we would all think it's hilarious.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love that guy.
I'm with you. Oh, so great. So great. Bora Bora, I'm with you. Let's double down on it.
Let's see. What else do I got here? Who's your dream dinner party? Living or dead, doesn't matter. You can pick, 3, 4, 5 people. Who you gonna invite?
Ooh. Oh. Yeah, I think I might actually make Howard Stern one of those guys.
Yeah, that would be entertaining.
That guy is just a genius. The opportunity to try and pick his brain.
Yeah.
Do you know who a guy named Greg Giraldo is?
No, I don't know who that is.
No, if you ever watched like old roasts on Comedy Central, he's a comedian. He was a Harvard Law School graduate. He's passed away, unfortunately, because he had his demons and his drug issues. But I think he's a guy I would invite. Probably another guy like Dave Chappelle.
Man, your party would be really funny, by the way. It'd be nonstop laughter.
Well, I would hope so. Yeah, I'm a big fan of comedy. And so, like you say, you listen to a lot of podcasts. I do as well, but they're all like comedy based.
Yeah.
Bill Burr would be at that dinner. And I'd have to have, like somebody like MJ. Not Michael Jackson,
man.
Michael Jordan. I mean, how good is the
Michael
Last
Jackson
Dance
would be
right
interesting
now,
too.
Yeah, we'll put him at the kiddie table. No, not funny.
Ooh, no, ouch. Okay,
Yeah, so let me go with that. Stern, Chappelle, Greg Giraldo, Bill Burr, and Michael Jordan.
That's a good
And I want to enjoy
dinner party
myself,
right
so
there.
you can. It's a good one. I'm going to enjoy myself because there's 0 women there.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Name a movie where you teared up.
Oh shoot! You went on me there for a second. A movie. Shoot! Right now, you back?
Yeah, it's just chopping up a little bit. It's okay. I got you back.
Okay.
Yeah, a movie where you teared up.
Yeah. I mean, there have been a few, but I just rewatched a movie recently where I always tear up. It doesn't matter how many times I watch it. It's a movie called Man on Fire with Denzel Washington and Dakota Fanning.
Yes, that's a good movie.
You seen that one?
Oh yeah, I've seen that one.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. And just kind of his relationship with her and how, she just like just this sort of love that they create, and she just pulls him out of this dark place that he's in mentally. And, I mean, it's you and I both came from religious backgrounds, so there's a lot of Christian crossover, I would say, in that message, right?
Yeah,
Like
totally.
Giving his life for her, so to speak.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Which, despite that, I still like the movie.
Okay, you got to name your team. We'll start U.S. guys only. So who's your starting 7? And let's just go indoor then. And I'll get to the beach afterwards, but who's your starting 7 indoor all time U.S. players?
All time?
Yeah, all time, and everybody's in their prime.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go our whole squad from 08. So you and Dave Lee in the middle, Reed and Riley on the outside, Steam and Loy, and then Karch is the libero.
Oh, that's a good team. That's a good team.
I make the cut of my own all-time squad.
I asked Karch that, and I'm like, "You don't even put yourself in there?" And he's all, "I'll be like I'll be a bench warmer or something."
Yeah. I think I'm a 4th string libero, maybe.
How about go ahead.
It goes Karch, Shoji, Sullivan, and then me.
Yeah. 4th string. Oh gosh. How about a global team? You can have any player around the globe. Who else would you put in there? In their prime?
Man, that's so tough.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I gotta have Sergio. Sergio's gonna be my libero.
Man, that guy's sick.
Yeah. Is there gonna be anybody better than that guy ever in the history of sport? No.
I
right?
No, man.
What did he not do that somebody's gonna do better than he does?
Yeah, seriously. I don't know.
The guy could run the entire offense.
Yeah.
From the back row. In system, yeah, exactly. All right, so I'm gonna keep Steam.
Yeah.
Because that guy's just too much of a force in nature.
I've never seen or played against anybody like Steam. I've never seen anybody do the things that he's done at the opposite position. I just haven't.
Yeah. I would can I go backups?
Sure.
I put Milkovic at backup because in his prime, dude, I mean, that guy's a special player too.
Yeah.
Like completely different styles, those two guys, right? But like Milkovic, and plus I just have to respect the freaking rig on that guy. Just 6'7" and shredded. Shredded, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are my 2 oppos.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep Reed and Riley both in my top. in my top 4.
Okay.
We're gonna have a revolving door.
You're gonna fill out the whole team here.
It's gonna be, but I mean, Giba's got to be in there.
Yeah.
I mean, and maybe I go Giba, Dante, Riley, Reed. Those are my 4 outsides.
That's not a bad. That's not a bad team right there.
I'll go to battle with those guys. I'm gonna go you and Dave and Gustavo. Those are my 3. Those are my solid 3 middles. And what else? And then I go LB and Ricardo.
Yeah.
And Sergio.
Man, I don't know how to argue against any of those. I had Ricardo. I'd never seen anybody run an offense like the 04 Brazilian team was so much better than everybody else in those Olympics. And to me, a large part of that was simply because of what we were doing.
Well, dude, that's so going all the way back to us talking about revisionist history with our 08 team. The fact that Ricardo's not playing is a major factor.
Huge.
Because they went full panic mode like you never see a Brazilian team do, and had Dante at opposite because Andre couldn't connect with Marcelinho.
Yep, that's right.
I mean, in the gold medal match, hey, go ahead, guy, and play opposite. You never play it, but
yeah. And by the way,
for gold medal.
I mean, Nascimento, he'd been almost their MVP during the entire quad. He was like the best player in 04. But you're right. It was that connection with Ricardo that really elevated his game.
Yeah.
I had to put him in there. Well, LB is a tough guy to go against as well because he's just a rare individual on the court. It's just the things that he can do are unlike the other players can't do either. So,
well, especially from a passer's perspective, like I can pass a ball that's going to land on their 10-foot line, but he can be 6'9" and go get it. Yeah, slap it to the freaking D ball.
Yeah, that's so true. All right, that's good. All right, you're in the best shape of your life. Who are you going to play beach with? So let me ask you this: who's your partner? First of all, you can go. We'll go rules today because I know the game's changed a little bit.
It doesn't matter. The answer is Phil.
It's Phil. Yeah, It's the same thing Karch said too. He's like, it's Phil. It's just he's too dominant.
I mean, any of these I don't know if you ever look at like old school volleyball, that thread on Facebook, those jackasses. I mean, like watch any of those old volleyball matches. They're awesome. And I grew up watching that and I love all those guys, but it's a different volleyball game. And the notion that giving Phil more space is going to somehow make you more competitive against him is ridiculous. You don't understand the concept of logic if that's what you actually believe.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, in my mind, there's no argument for him being the best of all time. He's the best blocker. He's the best setter. He's the best server. He is the best offensive player.
Yeah.
What else is there?
Yeah.
He's literally the best in his prime. And even now, he's in the top 3 in all of those categories.
Yeah.
He and Todd to a 7-0 lead in the 3rd set of the gold medal match in 08. And I don't think Todd touched the ball. Who does that? I'm not even joking. Like he freaking aced them, stuffed them, like crazy.
Yeah. Totally agree.
And he's like so unassuming and just such a cool guy too.
Yeah. Who are you playing against? If you had to put the next best team on the other side, who do you want to play against?
The next best team.
Yeah. Who do you put over there?
I mean, right now, we're gonna lose because I'm on my team. My side out game is highly suspect on the sand. But
just let Phil pass the entire court.
Hey Phil, I'm gonna need you to do a lot of deadlifts before this match because your back's gonna need to be strong to carry this guy.
We're gonna go over on 2 a lot, so just be aware.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I would be interested to play against. I don't know how much you get to watch these days, but these Norwegian kids are unbelievable. Anders and Christian.
Yeah.
And they're obnoxious too, because they're still like 22 years old.
Yeah.
So they're like in the like happy-go-lucky phase of life, like, oh, this is amazing. The nicest kids, and then they just go and freaking dominate everyone. Which in this day and age where the level has gotten so high and the amount of parity there is in the world it's so deep, for them to the run that they've gone on in the last 2 years, especially at such a young age, is just unreal.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotta get those guys on the show, tap into that, see if I can get some secrets out of them.
Yeah. Well, they would do like maybe like a podcast or vlog exchange with you or something, because I mean, that's the other thing, is they do this great job with like social media promotion and so forth. Yeah, cool. They travel with one of their buddies that does all this videography. Like, you can look up their YouTube channel, and they've got all these vlogs that they put together. I'll send you over one that I just appear in very briefly, because we were in Vienna and they were doing it, and there's like this awesome gym there that we happen to be at the same time. we go into the posing room, and we're doing all this stupid stuff. But
that's funny.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing here before I let you go. So we're going to do some word association. I'm going to say a word. You tell me the first word that comes in your brain.
Ooh.
All right.
All right. This could be dangerous.
Knucklehead.
Knucklehead. I mean, like, names are coming into my head. I don't want to say somebody's.
You've probably known your fair share.
All right. I'm going to say a name because I know he would almost like appreciate this characterization. Dave McKenzie.
I knew you were going to say Dave McKenzie. I knew you were going to go there. Okay, how about this? Genius.
Genius? I mean, you could almost say Dave McKenzie there as well.
It's probably true.
I mean, that guy is like a freaking knuckleheaded genius. I'm gonna give him both sides of the coin. Knucklehead,
okay.
Dave McKenzie.
That'll make him feel better.
Yeah.
How about Happy Place?
Happy Place? Yeah, golf course.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you said that. I'm looking at one right now on my window, actually.
Nice.
How about binge watch?
Oh man, I've done a lot of stuff on that front. Game of Thrones is a good binge watch. Sopranos is a good binge watch.
Choke.
Choke?
Yeah.
Oh, how do I answer that? Yeah, going back to our conversation about 2012, I feel like individually I kind of choked in the quarterfinals of that tournament, which thanks for bringing that
up. Self-inflicted wound.
I went samurai, little harakiri right there.
Oh, man. Six-pack.
Six-pack. I like to think of Riley Salmon on that. Because I loved the oh, dude. I just loved the vibe we had with our crew. Where it was like just this completely superficial and fake, like, oh, dude, you all right? Yeah, I'm good. Six-pack.
Or even the opposite way around, where it would be a total, like, you just get lit up, and then it would be like, six-pack. And then it'd be like, oh, you okay? All right, cool. Six-pack.
Oh, yeah, just double down.
How about taxes?
I should probably look into that.
Perfect response.
Yeah. My word association is extension.
That's the one good thing about COVID. You get the ongoing extension. Oh man, that's funny. How about the Olympics?
I mean, the best experience of my life.
Yeah. Hugh McCutch.
Yeah, I should go backwards to my answer on genius.
Genius, yeah.
and say Hugh McCutcheon. I mean, he's the greatest coach there is.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Highball.
High ball? Yeah, I'm going to go big steam is what I think of with the high ball.
What about ocean?
Ocean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would put that in the happy place category.
Yeah.
It's so calming, right?
And then you might already answer this, but what about GOAT, volleyball GOAT?
Shoot, you broke up on me a little bit on that one.
So
what
about if you had to choose a volleyball GOAT, greatest of all time?
Greatest of all time? On the beach, I would say it's Phil.
Yeah.
Indoor, I think it's a lot tougher because, like, with different positions, like, how do you choose the best player? You know what I mean? So, like, I would just go back to kind of those teams we made up. Those are sort of my goats at all the various positions.
Yeah.
And I would have Hugh and Bernardino both coaching our squad.
Yeah. Oh man, can you imagine those two on the sidelines?
Yeah.
That would be funny. Where do you think Carrie is in that GOAT conversation?
Oh, well, that's a good point. I didn't mean to be dismissive of the women's side of the sport, but she's hands down.
Yeah.
She's hands down. You know, I got to work with her a little bit at the end of last season. I don't know if you know that or not, but she's really like a fascinating case study to me, because when you think about who she is and all she's done, you would think that she's just this pillar of self-confidence and I don't know, all this stuff like security, whatever. And oftentimes it was almost the opposite of that, which is surprising. But I think it also highlighted several things that I think make her who she is and who she has been in the sport, which is this constant thirst for knowledge. You know what I mean? Hugh used to talk about that concept with us a lot, just like constantly being a student of the game and striving for better and better. And, you know, like if you're not getting better, you're getting worse kind of a thing. So you would think somebody with her resume would have some level of comfort and maybe even like their day in and day out dedication would wane a little bit, but that's far from the case with her. And that's why I think she's been able to do what she's done and what she continues to be able to do for so long.
Yeah. Well said. All right, man. You passed the test. Flying colors. Nice work.
Yes.
The only A you ever got.
That's right. Except for my first semester back off my mission when I didn't have to attend Japanese classes and still crushed them. All downhill since then.
All right, my man. Thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it. It's awesome to connect
with
absolutely.
You
again. We'll see you live again soon. We'll see you in Cali at some point, and we'll hook up.
I hope so, man. You look fantastic. Congrats on everything you got going on, and thanks for having me.
All right, bud. Take care.
Later.